Come one, come all. Come all 100T fans. Come all 100T haters. Come all fun-loving people. Come all peace-loving people.
Ooh.
Come all favorers of left hand. Come all poets and artists. Come all to 100 Talk.
That's right. Wow. This poem written by Cole.
Improvised by Cole. Welcome to 100 Talk, everybody. If you can't tell, we never know what we're going to say when we start. Felt like doing something different tonight, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, 2-0 week is a nice thing to be able to discuss. And we're planning on doing that. But first, a thank you. You see up at the top of the screen right there? Oh, my finger gets cut off by my cropping. Elgato, powering our stream with the lighting and capture equipment. We're so grateful that they make beautiful products. This green screened out background, that's all of them.
Works wonders. We should have gone for the just the standard, like Teams or Zoom fake green screen effect.
Yeah.
It's so good these days. Psych, got to get a green screen if you're serious about this stuff.
So quick story about that. One time I put I was in like a family Zoom or something with somebody who isn't a LeBron fan, and I set up my green screen background to be a looping video of LeBron highlights just behind me, and then forgot to turn that off and hopped onto a work Zoom later.
Amazing. Love that.
I was promoted.
On the spot.
Oh, we both know my previous job would never promote me. All right, guys. And thank you to Rip It, by the way, for powering our stream. Always. F-bomb in the house tonight. Jordan, don't look now, but that does say 125 on top of the can, not $1. Not 99. It used to say 99 cents. Inflation hitting everybody hard.
That's a 25% price increase, Cole. That's out of control.
Times are hard. Times are hard.
My goodness.
All right. Oh, gosh. We're not Twitch chat readers in here, but I was making jokes about Oh My Josh 8 being a different person than Oh My Josh 5, and now I see that he has switched his name. So oh my gosh. All right. Focus. Thank you, Flight Check, for rating. Focus. Cody over on YouTube. Move to Twitch chat, man. That's where the party's at. Here's the link for you. All right. Let's talk about what happened this weekend. Okay. Let's start with the Immortals game. So, quick side note, Jordan. Actually, you know this, for you were there in all of your MS Paint NFT glory. I did a VOD squad about the EG game. The Immortals game was like what I thought the Evil Geniuses game was going to be once we got like 25 minutes into it. The Immortals game was a very interesting game for us. I think it's going way under the radar because Immortals is not a very good team. But, shout out, Cody is now in Twitch chat. Awesome. What a dude. The Immortals game, I thought like we showed that we are rounding into form against Immortals. Mm-hmm. And again, it'll never be really validated because of the competition level. But I'm telling you, there were some very, very good signs during this game. First and foremost being the top lane situation that brewed. So if you can cast your mind back to that time, Ssumday started out the game getting completely zoned off minions. I think he missed like the first entire 2 waves. And they like sent a level 2 gank, maybe, or level 3 gank, somewhere around there. Abba had to TP and to defend. Right? And it was not good. Now they answered with the first blood. Okay, so it was like, all right, cool. We overcame that obstacle, but it didn't really translate into much. And then Ssumday made a mistake to where they sent 3 up top to dive him. And the caster speculated that maybe he thought he was going to get ult, like going to get level 6 from being close to minions when he went back and would have been able to survive it. But alas, that did not happen. And he got killed, and he got killed at a bad time. All right. And so much of the discussion on the caster desk was like, this is so bad. This is like disastrous for top lane. Like that one thing basically cost the whole lane, right?
The season is over, Cole. It's done. They've ruined it.
So then we saw the response, right?
One thought. He may have hit 6. He may have had time to hit 6 because I think he walked back up and then a third dude jumped out. Like he had vision on 2 and then a third dude jumped out of the bush. The whole calculus changes, you know, when you've got 3 guys there who can kill you with a quickness rather than 2. And we've seen Ssumday in plenty of 1v2s that he wins. So
yeah,
I know where he was coming from. He was thinking, easy dub. I got this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do a little 2v1 tango with the turret.
Yeah. This is how I make my paycheck in LCS, basically.
But they sent a third.
Yeah.
And, you know, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. And what, so the response is the thing that I want to focus on, because again, the story was, man, this lane is done. This is disastrous. This is the worst. And we saw Closer kind of like show himself in vision to give Ssumday some room to lane a bit. He caught back up a little bit. Closer took first Herald with Abbedagge rotating up in case anything went south. FBI and he moved up to mid lane to cover that lane. And then Ssumday like took like some pretty deep trades with Revenge up top while evening up the farm in lane, right? It was crazy. It was like the team just did not stress about what was happening up top, but instead of like, all right, lane is lost, let's focus elsewhere, they actually got Ssumday back into it with all these moves, right?
Yep.
And so it's like part team coordination, part macro, part Closer being smart and helping Ssumday, and part Ssumday individual skill level, right? Like you saw him like dodging those shock blasts against Revenge. Like,
oh, they're close.
Climbed right back into the lane.
Yeah.
So we went from like, oh, this is so chalked into like even maybe slight lead for us in the lane within the space of, I don't know, what was that? Like 5 or 6 minutes?
It wasn't long.
It wasn't
all
long.
During one lane phase where, you know, that all of that happened from level 5 onward.
So I thought that was a big deal. Like, again, I know it's Immortals, but having a plan and executing it and not letting the lane get out of control, that's something that I'm not confident we would have been able to do 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. Because that's every time I made a prediction, I've talked about how I don't know if we're at the point where we're reliably able to defeat the teams we should. And these are the kinds of things that help you to do that, right? Where even if you get caught by some cheese, or even if it's not cheese, it's just some strategic, you know, moves that they make early on.
Or a mistake
you or a mistake you make, you know, whatever sets you back, are you able to play your way back in? And it's easy at the end of the game to say, oh, you know, Immortals, we beat them in the way that we expected to. But it was a pretty hard earned, you know, at 25 minutes, the casters were talking about how they were surprised the game hadn't ended yet because it looked so dominant. And it didn't look dominant at 6 minutes. Right?
Yeah. It was all capped off too, like in the great way, because that he roam up top to get into brush and then hook out onto Revenge. It was just so, it was like, okay, cool. Now you are behind 1,500 gold. And what you thought was a strength is actually a weakness. You know, and that's what I want to see out of this team, man. That's what I want to see. Recovery and patience and composure. And we got it. And I did not want that to go unsaid, right? Now, another thing that I thought might indicate some controlled play, some disciplined play, some playing with like a strategy in place was one of the plays we made around Dragon. So they were taking drag, and we went in 2v4 to contest. This was maybe, I'm wondering if I have like a timestamp on here. I thought this was maybe around 18 minutes or so. Maybe a little bit before that. And it was like, it's like an interesting game situation because obviously if we Drake stack through that, like towards Ocean Soul, like we're in really good position, right? We're leading everywhere. We're threatening Ocean Soul. But going in 2v4, it's like, all right, very likely to not get the drag, very likely to give over kills, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, Closer stole the Drake and gave 2 kills away. But here's the thing. It's like, when you talk about like the calculus of these risks, think about it in the context of what is becoming a thorn in our side, objective bounties. Okay? We may be in a position with the game where you can take plays like that and give over deaths because it may actually be more advantageous to you to not have such a good lead at the time.
A crazy thought.
Right? Yeah. It's like, all right, maybe a 2v4 contest like an all-in steal attempt is actually like the higher percentage play in the long run.
Yeah. That would be a really strange, inadvertent outcome of objective bounties. And I'm sure Riot would claim it's totally what we had in mind. Encouraging more lower percentage plays. So you're not always just playing the safe play. Now, whether or not that's intentional on Riot's part or the player's part, I think you're right. You know, giving them gold, a couple hundred gold here and there, a few hundred gold, is actually a good idea.
Yeah.
In a weird way, which is stupid, and I hate it. That's true. But that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So, and like, I get the sense, because like, look, it's a 2v4. It's really not like that likely to succeed. I get the sense that they knew this. All right. This may be just me. Hindsight's 2020, whatever, you know, but it's just like, I wonder if they knew, like, we can take this risk because if it doesn't pan out, it actually still may help us in the full context of the game. I do not like that that's where we're at. Okay. And trust me, more discussion on objective bounties coming for like the 4th week in a row. But it may be possible, man.
Yeah. I get the feeling it's one of those things. I'd be very surprised if players said it, but you do wonder if it starts to work its way into practice or strategy. You know, it would be as simple as coaches saying, "Hey, if you got to, you know, if we're up comfortably, we've got a nice lead, take a chance. If you're not going to, you know, like what's okay, best case scenario, you get the objective and you get out, no kill, no deaths. Worst case scenario, you get nothing." And then I feel like you can look forward a little bit, right? So long as you're not, as your worst case scenario is not, you give Dragon and Baron.
Yeah.
Right. So you could very easily do that. Just check your timers and see what the.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm fairly sure this is 17, 18 minutes. So there's like zero risk of that, right?
Right. And if Shelly's not up too, then really what are you risking? Right. Because if catch up mode activates, then suddenly they're going to get, 1,000 gold every time they kill a minion. That's what it feels like. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, another interesting thing from this game is that, we fought for Soul at 22 minutes. Ssumday found the flank. We had this big fight. Let's see. What did we get out of that? I think we got 2 kills. I think we got a Drake, 2 kills, and a Baron off of this Soul fight, basically. And guess what? FBI in that battle there, that back and forth furious battle that we actually kind of stopped, did 0 damage. 0.
I saw that.
You saw that, right? So it's like, like we're so strong that we don't even need our AD carry to do any AD.
Yeah, we had Victor doing some serious damage on the map.
Yep.
That dude.
Casual
pumps out the
7, 1,
damage.
and 3 from Abbedagge. You guys still want to replace him?
Yeah.
Probably do.
The team that we played on Sunday was hoping that we would. They ended up having to ban the Victor away.
Yeah.
So
he's looked good on Victor for the most part.
He's looked very good on Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a. I don't know what it is. Because it's kind of a sneaky. You know, like he did some things that were very noticeably dominant. A lot of it is just like he just pumps out damage in these team fights. I think this is really good team fight positioning on Victor. You know, he hits the double laser in good spots.
Yeah.
He was using the gravity field really well. So I think there's even one spot where he like the one death he had. I'm pretty sure it was Freak or whoever was casting called this out. They're like, yeah, you killed him, but he got his full combo off. So
yeah, and he's dead, and the ult is still you know doing
still
damage,
chasing you.
right?
Yeah, doing damage.
The Karthus effect. So
I think he looks. I'm going to be really excited when we see the Victor locked in. I'm assuming they'll nerf him to Oblivion shortly.
Yeah,
but
just in time for playoffs.
Cool. Exactly. Get our strongest look champion right back onto the bench right before playoffs. We can hope. But yeah, he looked good. And I think to your point, right? When you have that much damage being dealt, I think in that fight he may have dealt like 7k damage. The one where
that's a lot, man. I'm not sure about 7, but it was a lot. Yes.
Yeah, maybe it was 4k or something. Anyway, it was thousands, and but we still won that fight because he was. You don't need 2 people dealing, you know, a couple thousand damage each. If one person, you just take it all over.
Right. Yeah.
Easy.
So beastly fighting by him, and just like again, we recovered a poor lane state, and like bounced back and thoroughly dominated. We got like everything off of that fight. So I couldn't have been prouder with the Immortals game. We didn't allow a turret to them, by the way.
Really?
So objective bounties didn't end up mattering for them, right? If we would have allowed a single outer turret to go down, they probably would have gotten like 6,000 gold. So
yeah, right back in the game.
Good thing we did not. Anyway, so again, just the whole point of this is we played pretty well against Immortals, and that was cool. So we took that confidence into the Evil Geniuses matchup.
Evil Genius.
And again, as I mentioned, I did a VOD squad for this, and I was so happy. We were just thoroughly winning and cleanly taking over the game. And in fact, I think like in retrospect, I feel like we only made 2 or 3 mistakes like the whole game. It felt like so early on, very early on, 2 or 3 minutes into the game, closer ganked mid and we got JoJo's flash out. We didn't come back to punish that. That I thought was a mistake. Classify that as a mistake. It's like, yeah, we invested that in the mid. We didn't make him pay. We could have been a big deal, especially because since JoJo's so good at laning, Jordan, he's just so good at laning. He's just so good. I don't get it. Anyway, no hate to him personally, by the way. My hate is directed at those who sing his praises. And we actually gave them a kill. So the second mistake was Abbedagge, like, I swear you could see the Jarvan.
It's Abbedagge sense. I'm telling you. He knew there was a chance there's a guy. We talked about I'll just replay from last time we talked about this. He knew there's a chance there's a guy in the bush. He walks up knowing there's a chance there's a Jarvan in the bush. The Jarvan EQ's out. There was a Jarvan in the bush. Confirmed. He didn't even get to put his ward down, you know? He was going over to ward it.
Yeah.
He knew there's a chance.
They had to have vision. When I did VOD Squad, I actually rewound, and I could see that, yeah, at some point, like 5 to 10 seconds before, they definitely like had vision on him. Oh, yeah. And that was just, it was just kind of crazy. Like, okay, he's playing. Now, I will say Nautilus disappeared from lane, right? So maybe he's thinking like, oh, okay, they're roaming up from bot. I got to hover top. But you did just see someone up top too.
He's playing this. Look, he saw someone up top. There are 2 possibilities. He has continued on to clear the rest of his jungle, or he is in this bush waiting. There are 2 chances. and he took the riskier chance. You know, the alternative is he doesn't ward that bush, and then he doesn't know if he can safely hover top.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like it's uncanny. I really think it is. And I'm not trying to, this is not meant as flame. It's now at the point where I'm just like, I feel like every time this dude takes one of these coin flip check, they're always waiting for him. And it's not kind. You know, I feel like they probably know that he has a history of failing these checks.
He's a habitual line stepper.
And so they're just like, you know, I could go clear jungle, but I think I'll hang out for another 3 or 4 seconds. Like, oh, there he comes.
Just like clockwork. But here's the deal. It didn't matter, right? We bounced back again. It was a small mistake in the long run. It looked bad, but it didn't end up meaning much. I mean, we still got a very quick, big lead against these guys. And I'm not even sure like what happened to go wrong on this, where things started unraveling. I know, like, you know, we were so strong. We were just destroying everywhere. We got too big of a lead too fast, and we activated objective bounties, which was our greatest and gravest error.
No. Never.
You should not do that.
Don't beat your opponents until the end of the game.
Yeah. So the fateful fight around Dragon, which was this was for an Elder, wasn't it? It was like we already had the Cloud Soul.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think we were fighting for Elder, and lo and behold, was it Abba that was kind of like trying to get a flank position behind the pit, throw out some gold cards, surprise some people with some wild cards. And he just like couldn't, like, he just was out of reach. He just, no damage, no utility available until he walks around like the slow way, right? And they capitalized on that, and they took a fight. The fight was weird from us. They destroyed us in the fight. When we took that fight, we were 7,000 gold up.
It's a comfortable lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay.
At the time the dragon went down, I went back and I watched the little gold thing.
Yeah. Oh, I did too.
It was like 1,900 gold. Like
I went back and watched it because I thought
it was like 1,850, 1,900 gold.
Yeah. I thought for sure I'd had like a stroke. Like,
you time warped forward, you chrono broke forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 1,900 gold. They get the shutdowns also off the kills that narrowed that lead. They went up to Baron and got 2,100 from killing the Baron.
It's fine.
Then they turned around and started pushing with Baron, getting turrets. I talked to Darkuth about this earlier today, and Darkuth was talking about, like, basically saying, like, when you win so hard that your opponent doesn't have outer turrets out, having objective bounties is like the worst thing ever, because it's at that point in the game, it's virtually impossible to protect your outer turrets, right? If you go to a Baron or to a Dragon, like, you're automatically giving up that turret, right? If you make a mistake, you're automatically giving up those turrets. Those turrets go down quick, and they come with big gold prizes, right? So they start slamming down mid lane, objective bounty, objective bounty. And like during the push, they actually, so they get a turret down, like our T3 mid goes down, and they go up like 100 gold off of that. So they've erased 7,000 gold in like a matter of 60 seconds. And they still have objective bounties on the towers.
Yeah.
Now,
because they probably, Cole, still need a little help getting back in this game. I don't know. I'm no expert.
And thank goodness that we didn't end up giving up the Nexus turrets at that point. Because there's, you know what I mean? It's just like boom, 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 boom. Like, here's so much gold.
Do you think you could get an objective bounty on the Nexus? That's the question I have. I wouldn't be surprised.
What it does is it knocks the loser's KDA down by like 4.
You start your next game with 1,000 extra gold. You know, it's fair. You had a hard game, Cole. You were down almost 7K gold your previous game. You a little boost.
So my question is, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Why
Look.
is this allowed to happen? Look, I will gladly, as I've said before, gladly forfeit our Golden Guardians win in the name of getting rid of objective bounties. I know it benefited us very big once, but it is just an abomination. Like you should not be punished for stomping that hard.
Imagine this in any other sport. Imagine if in basketball, if you went down 20 points.
All right, guys, all your threes are now worth 5.
Yeah. And then you're up 5 and you hit another one. They're like 5 more points for the good guys. Like, sorry, what? Could we just turn it off? Cut it. Like, it's not needed. The fact that they didn't program into this a deactivation switch. I mean, what is the stated purpose of objective bounty? Is it not to help a team get back into the game? When you're at even gold, are you not by definition back into the game?
Here's another point to raise, because you're right. It's like that's like definitionally what's going on. Yes. And let's think about this for a second. Objective bounties. Let's create a way for teams who are behind to feel like they're in it. So when they do something good, they get a little bit of a reward. Sir, we have shutdown bounties that are pretty. I mean, 700 gold if you kill someone who's doing well. Is that not enough?
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's like, look, we already have this. We literally already have this.
But Cole, if they're really strong, it's hard to kill them. You know what's not hard to kill? A T1 outer turret.
Especially ones that haven't been CSing well, right?
Yeah. It's crazy to me. Look. I have never said that there is something that is just so stupid that it has to be removed from the game. This is it. This is the thing. I watched League for this is our 5th season watching League. Seen some changes. Don't love all of them. But, that's going to happen. You're not going to love them all. You're not going to love all the champs they introduce. Some of the champs you'll think, it's not my style, not my favorite. This is just really bad. It's just really bad for gameplay. The only thing I can think of is that this is a purely not pro focused thing.
100%.
And they have too many people who are having horrible experiences in solo queue or whatever, wherever people are playing. And they're this is just fan service.
Okay.
Bad.
But is it not also a bad experience in solo queue when the same thing happens to you? Because this same thing is happening. Darku's talking about this in chat right now. It says it feels so bad in solo queue. You have a real good lead, and then some random person decides to ego dive. The other team gets a pick, then wins a Dragon 4v5, and you just know the game is now over. You just know it's over. The entire game is done after 20 minutes of solid work because of one mistake. So it's like, do we even need it there? I don't think so.
Right. I cannot, even trying to be charitable, I cannot think of the redeeming quality.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not there. And I fully agree with you. Happily give back anything that we have earned because of this, if it means we just get to delete this from the game.
Yeah.
I really think there's a bit of ego here too, where I mentioned this previously. There's really not that much that they've changed that's stayed. Like, they need to have their like splashy game evolving thing. And if it's Hex Tech Dragon and Unleashed Teleport, it's like season 11, timers have been adjusted. Whoa.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of that where it's like, oh, we have to have some.
We can't reverse everything.
I mean, look, I think they could do a lot better. This feels bad and lazy, which is not a good combo. They should do this. As soon as you get within, let's say 3,000 gold, boom, it's off. Right? Make it so that you have at least some ability to maintain a lead that you've worked for, because that feels worse, right? What feels worse than losing a game badly? Losing a game badly that you were winning
badly.
The majority of the game. Yeah, you were winning badly, just as badly.
Yeah.
So they got to get it figured out, because if this keeps happening, it's gonna be really frustrating when you get to playoffs, because it's gonna be like the asterisk, right? Like, well, enjoy your objective bounty title,
Right. Yeah, this is stupid. And I bet, that's a good point. I bet you we are going to see this in playoffs at some point. Mm-hmm. And that is going to cause a riot. I'm not saying like for 100T, just for any team who loses like a playoff series based on objective bounties, it's going to be one.
fast forward. If we're getting rolled every game and we take advantage of objective bounties to come back and win every game, we would feel badly.
Yeah. Mickey Mouse trophy at that point.
Yeah, honestly. So I don't want it. I want it to be out. I'd rather lose badly than win cheaply.
Okay, well, we have litigated objective bounties to death on the pod this split. So hopefully this is the last time we need to talk about it until we, win or lose a playoff series based on it. But
crazy.
Let's turn our minds instead to more important questions, such as, Jordan, has closer ever Volibear ulted forward?
I saw a Volibear ult that was offsetting a Nautilus hook. He buffered the Nautilus. Pretty cool.
Oh,
backward. It was
nice.
It
was backward.
It was backward.
Always disengaged. It is weird, isn't it?
I thought his Volibear was probably the most anemic looking. Am I wrong in this? Am I just
Probably
misremembering this because he didn't have like any key plays? It felt to me like he was always running around a fight, dying somewhat slow, somewhere between slowly to medium speed, and not a lot else, which I honestly don't put on him. I think the champion is it's not really one that I'm super like. For me, it feels like you're gonna jump on a turret, turn it off, and then get some kills. Great,
Yeah.
Or you're gonna, I guess, and you snowball in a big enough lead that you can like body slam your way into a team and then just start smashing heads. I don't know. I don't know.
So I don't mean to be rude to our chat, but it's like Chat's like answering this question very seriously, like pulling out the examples of when he ulted forward. I did not mean for that to be an intentional question.
Love you, Chat.
In fact, I'm more in line with Darkuth, who says one time he volley ulted backwards and accidentally did damage to the Gnar.
By definition, Cole, it was forwards toward the Gnar.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But
did you like the Volibear pick? Like, how do you feel about it?
I don't like it. It doesn't feel like it does anything for us. Someone smarter than
need him.
All it does is bail closer out, I guess, because he's always ulting backwards.
Yeah.
It's like 9 or 10 per game. Just like, get me out of here. It's really bad. Which, whatever works. But I like other picks for him better. Yeah. What was banned out in that game? Maybe he didn't have access to other things. So we banned Hecarim. Thank you. By the way, shout out to the staff for continuing to watch the pod for ban suggestions, because we got a lot of Hecarim banning. We got Tom Kench banning or playing. We got Graves banning. I'm just a happy camper. But we banned out Hecarim. What?
Graves playing.
Yeah, or Graves playing. That's right. They banned out Lee Sin. No, he could have played Viego. Anyway, I'm not gonna dwell on that too much. But yeah, not really a fan. Didn't
impress me.
Other things though to pay attention to. Ssumday auto stole a dragon. It was a soul dragon. I don't know. When I watch it, I'm not quite sure what happened, because Inspired was just like, I don't know what he was doing. He just was like out of range.
He just left.
Someday it's just like, well, I've got flash and a right click.
Yeah. I think he hit it with an ult first.
Yeah, I think he pumped in a shot and then flash autoed to take it down. Stole soul, just casual auto steal of soul. And I'm pretty sure Danny was right there in the pit as well.
Oh yeah. Danny had the kill shot on it. It was honestly like 0.1 second. It was in the air. I'm
pretty sure that Power of Evil's auto attack was also in the air. The little Orianna, like the really slow one.
Yeah. Her little glaive or whatever it is.
Yeah. That was I can't believe that.
There were 3 Ssumday plays from this game that were just mind-boggling, and that was one of them for sure. Like,
okay, can I play along? Can I guess what your next one is?
His game sense is unbelievable. He looked at that play. He's like, I am Graves. He saw Jarvan being spirited away elsewhere. Like, he just left the game. He was I swear,
He was
ulted.
inspired.
He was inspired to just full on send it down river. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my dragon now. I'm on it. Got this. Don't worry." But yeah, play along. Take your guess at the next one. There are 3 on
Oh
there.
yeah. So the second one would be the
Doesn't have to be sequential. It can be any order.
Okay, so when he gets his recall interrupted
Yes.
over wall, and he
By
just
shockwave.
flash and elder executes.
I think it was a teleport. I think he got ulted out of his TP, if I'm not mistaken. Because he was going back to try to save.
Was it
base.
TP? Oh, yeah. And
'Cause I
either
think he
way,
was channeling. Yeah.
he
he had to
just
spend
flashed
the
the wall
ult.
and said, you know, I don't know.
It was instant. It was like he got his. It's like he knew. He's like, if he interrupts me, I'm gonna flash and I'm gonna to blow him away.
Yeah.
And he did it. Ooh, it was decisive. And it would have been a lot less cool if we ended up losing the game to Danny, who was playing. There's a spider. Do you see this tiny spider right here?
No.
I can see it in my little. Anyhow, yeah. If we lost the game,
Oh, I can see it when I look at you in the window, but it's keyed out with a green screen and kind of cropped out.
Okay, so that's 2, and then the third one.
The third one was at the end where he flashes over Danny's Zeri skill shot. No?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, you were shaking your head.
So
Yeah. He flashed right over it and just blew him to pieces.
I told you it looked like a Call of Duty highlight. Him playing the Graves, like flashing forward.
Wow,
with a
what if you got
shotgun,
first
close
person
range.
view of this? First person
Somebody
view of
needs to
Graves.
make a montage.
They have to be able to do that, right? Because they've got the infinite camera angles. Just put it inside of his brain.
Yeah, or like a tight Gears of War style third
person.
Cam.
Yep.
If
Man,
I were
this
really
sprinting animation in Gears of War is so cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was the coolest thing when the first one came out.
Just styling Ssumday.
Yeah, good to see him on the Graves popping off. As I mentioned, previous Ssumday Graves games weren't always that impressive. Mm-hmm. So to see him doing this was a really good sign. Not
to mention just the constant Nexus pressure. He was always almost winning the game for us.
He was very dedicated to the split push.
This is one of the only games I can think of, and I'm sure this is not the only one, and chat may remember it. This game was crazy. We probably didn't make that clear enough. Oh yes, I'll explain. So this is one of the only games I can think of where they did the base race cam, and then the game continued on for another 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah. Usually that's a pretty good indicator the game is ending. But that's just the kind of pressure that somebody's putting on it. The observers are like, oh snap, Ssumday it could be doing this, guys. We should please get the overlay ready.
Yeah, pay attention. He might be winning the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, but despite the Ssumday plays, they probably weren't the craziest plays of the game because we had Abbedagge's ult in to Spellbook Smite steal of Elder Dragon.
Did he ult into the pit before doing that?
Yeah, he ulted into the pit with Spellbook Smite. Stole Elder. Now, and if you watch it, he actually gets an Elder execute play while he's in Zonia's. I guess, I don't know if he had a slow auto off in the air or something, but there's a notable delay between when he hits Zonia's and then somebody gets executed by his little card. And so it looks so, it's I guess it's the League of Legends equivalent of cool guys don't look at explosions, right? When you Zonia's and then half second later you get a kill. It's just the most stylish thing ever. After he just single-handedly preserved the game for us. Meanwhile, was that the same time where Danny was ripping through the base, or was that right after that?
I don't think so.
Because we also need to talk about that.
I think it was after. You're right. I think after that fight, I think Danny goes up, realizing that the Elder's lost. I think then goes to the base. I'd have to watch it again, but I think it was around that time.
And I didn't have good notes because I was watching it on stream, but I'm pretty sure he pulled off during the fight and started doing that. And yeah, that was incredible timing on the inhibitor respawn. I think we'll go ahead and say that, Now Ssumday was spawning, Yeah, was he respawning or was he recalling? I can't remember. But
He was recalling. He got he flash.
Yeah, that's right. Because he came out of hit the
right.
well, still didn't have full health. Yeah.
I think,
but he would have won the fight.
Would have lost. Yeah, I think we would have lost Nexus, the last Nexus turret. I don't think we would have lost the game.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think Danny would have gotten turret and then got destroyed by Ssumday.
Mm-hmm.
But
this area is really slippery, so it's possible that he could have been kind of.
I mean, Graves has a dash and long range ult and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And a flash auto, that kind of thing. Although I just used
which Danny learned all too well. So for whatever I mean, I just feel like we still probably would have held there, but as was said in chat, brother Inhib spawned at the exact right time.
Yes. Yeah.
And did us a major solid, and we were able to seize control of the game back once objective bounties were no longer a thing. Once they were no longer getting bonus 800 gold for every decision they made, which felt nice. Nice to not have to worry about that again.
Here, Cole, let me give you the devil's advocate take on this.
Uh-oh.
This game is not a banger if objective bounties don't exist.
Good point.
What if we've just proven them right?
I don't care, because I would rather not have this be a banger. I'd rather have a win that's not, ripped away from us.
Down to an absolute crazy sequence of heroic plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did feel a little bit like just Danny's going to do it to us again. This game ended at 48-30. This was
death timers are over a minute.
Yeah, it's where you make a mistake and the game's over, right? So
you lose a fight at that point, and even if all of your turrets are standing and the waves are fully pushed in, like you still get it marched down mid. Maybe not then.
Yeah. So Danny finished 7-2-1 on the Zeri with a cool 559 CS.
Wow.
But the rest of the team, including JoJo, too heavy to carry. So thank goodness for that. Because that was a little bit of a close shave, Jordan, if we're being honest, right?
Yeah, it was. Fun game to watch.
It
would be less fun if we hadn't won. For sure.
And you can go back on our Twitch VODs and see my reaction to watching that game and the look of horror on my face when we started throwing. I don't even know if you can consider it a throw if it's objective bounties.
I mean, I'll say this. We were genuinely losing the fights. When we committed Ssumday to their base, they had a much better time with the team fights with the 4 remaining players. Like the 4v4 really outclassed us. Much, just more effective. And that had nothing to do with objective bounty. So I don't think I can't blame that on it. I think it was just them playing the situation well, right? Like they got some really clutch Nautilus hooks. They had a much easier time engaging in those dances. So, I think the comp was in their favor in that situation. I think they played it as they needed to. It was just unfortunate that it ended up giving them such an insane snowball, rolling down the hill that didn't stop until they were ahead of.
They got the stimulus check.
Yes, seriously.
Which is what I'm now calling objective bounties. Just in general, so moving on from that game, just in general, like I thought what we saw in the 100 Thieves of this weekend was that we are playing with a heightened sense of patience and discipline now. It's like Guru Reaper just told everybody to calm down. Like, you're fine. Don't rush it. We're going to win. So just relax, play it slow, play it intentional. The thing that I'm seeing this the most is that we are not overcommitting to stuff anymore. Like almost at all, really. It's like the classic 100 Thieves thing to do, right? Is to chase low health bars on tanky top laners, right? Mm-hmm. And that happened to us in this game. But instead of running after impact, we just broke off and looped around. We started chasing him. Then we're like, well, we do have a dragon fight to win here. And we pulled off and got the job done. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we're starting to realize when we need to break off and retreat, and it's not worth it. I saw a lot of, not just backwards volley barrels, but a lot of disengages and retreats at times when I was expecting us to fight and try and get more kills down. And it's minimizing the amount of mistakes that we're making. And, like, it's like against like C9 or against whoever Licorice is playing for at the time. It's like we always do stuff like this. Yeah. And now we've seemed to be weeding that out of our like play style, right? We're no longer over chasing. We're no longer overcommitting. We're retreating when it makes sense to retreat. We're getting objectives without giving over kills in more instances, right? Like I think there were like 2 or 3 times where we actually like had a potential 4v4 or 5v5 fight around the objective. We took the objective and we just pieced out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I'm very, very pleased to see this happening. And it feels like our playstyle, the split that we're starting to find is just go slow. Especially because, Jinx Aphelios. Like we got to scale them up. Got to scale them up. Though, and side note on that, we finally saw the Zeri this week, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
the Zeri looked pretty good. It wasn't like world changing, but it was pretty good.
I think nerfs came through for Zeri. Am I wrong? I think
Zeri?
that's the reason you're starting to be able to play her in the LCS. It's not just permaban. I could be wrong, but I believe. I mean, this is a new patch. I know. Yeah. Fake Cloud confirms.
Well, at least we know he has it. He can play it.
Yeah.
Because before I was like seriously wondering if we could.
Yeah. The TK. We didn't talk at all about the TK.
Thank you. Yes. Go ahead. I'll join you.
I was just gonna say. Here's what I'd hoped that we would see. I feel like in the past we've seen who he played TK. It's been like it's felt very hit or miss. And when I say hit or miss, I mean we do a lot of like attempted engages and then he just walks slowly around dying, Yes. I think he did a much better job of target isolation, finding people, using both the slow and the W, whatever that's called, the semi-abyssal voyage. I don't know. And then
abyssal
he had a couple of good, he had a couple of good chomps too. So I thought it was good for sure. I think he played it well. I think it served us well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like my new favorite, right? But
no, definitely is not. But I actually said this on VOD Squad. So I was interested that you brought it up because what I'm used to seeing, as you mentioned, I'm used to seeing him try and find an engage and then he dies quickly and he never seems tanky enough. The silver health doesn't seem to do anything for us. It was different this time. I don't know if I said on stream, I don't know if it's build or decision making or whatever, but he definitely looked better on it this time around. He made it work. He wasn't giving over easy deaths. He actually kept them insanely busy during that crucial team fight. Stayed alive, had a really good flash during that fight. Had them basically overcommit to killing him and buying us enough time to come out on top in the fight. So I thought he was very important actually to the game.
To me, I'd say that the primary difference is, when we play something like a Nautilus, like he's the go button, right? Mm-hmm. I think he needs to be less of the go button when he's on TK, just by nature of the kit.
Sure.
Because if you hit go on TK and you don't get it, like there is no, like even if you're Nautilus and you miss a hook, you still have your ult to potentially apply CC to everybody on the enemy team, right? So I think it was a good adaptation for what his usual play style is, and I think it was a good game as a result.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I thought it was much better. I'm still not like going to be excited to see it picked. But maybe, a couple other games under his belt where it looks this good and I'll start taking it, So.
Yeah. He kept a couple people live at key points too.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have the versatility in the kit.
All right. So before we move on to listener takes and predictions, I did want to take a brief moment to, again, revisit a topic that we've hit a few times, but just talking about this Ssumday MVP candidacy topic. Okay. Now, I really like JLXP. Okay. And I was listening to it while I was walking a dog this morning, and I was hearing them talk about MVP, and I get that people are like, it's Summit's to lose, and maybe he will lose it, you know, but right now it's Summit's to lose, or maybe Blabber or something like that. Like, I understand that. What was unusual for me, though, is those guys, when they're talking about dark horse candidates or candidates from other teams, right, that, you know, may not be Team Liquid or C9, they brought up Closer as the representative for 100 Thieves. And that was weird to me because I feel like as fans, we all are pretty much in overwhelming agreement that Ssumday has been our MVP of the split.
Mm-hmm.
And Raz briefly mentioned Ssumday in passing. He was like, I don't even know what he said, but basically he was saying like, yeah, and Ssumday has been good too, but not as consistent as Closer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that opinion. I feel like Ssumday has been both more consistent and the focal point of the team.
Yeah.
You know, win or lose. And I think that is like, that's kind of the main part of being valuable for us. Right. So, right. And before we get into this, I'm not here to say that I think Ssumday should be the MVP of the split right now. Maybe he'll get there, but I feel like if you're talking about who from our team deserves it, it should be him rather than Closer.
Yeah.
Are you in agreement with me? And let me say, I ran a Twitter poll and we had like 85% of people agree that it should be Ssumday rather than Closer.
Yeah. I think it's I'm not going to get ahead of the conversation here, but it's kind of a strange thought exercise because
89%, by the way, 346 votes, 89% for Ssumday.
I'm pretty sure I voted Ssumday as well. So spoiler. It's strange because I think if you are talking about specifically to our team, who has been the most valuable player, you know, just looking at the definition of what that means, I think Ssumday is it. I think he's provided us with more value than anyone else on the team. More consistently a carry threat, more consistently, playing to our strengths.
We have consistently saved last pick for him. Like in almost every game, he's had last pick, which has meant counter pick for an overwhelming majority of his games.
Yeah, and
that's pretty clear.
Yeah, like so the team, and you know, Papa Smithy has said he's having his best split since before he was in the LCS.
Yeah,
right, and so that's saying a lot. And you know, I think we've seen, especially lately, like in our most recent form, we've seen really good play from other people on the team. Ssumday has been consistently really good throughout the entire split. So for me, I look at that. Yeah, you can find the odd game here or there where he falls flat, you know, or doesn't have the same level of impact on the game. But I do think that he's been our, you know, just player by player, he's been the most important and valuable player for us.
Yeah. Well, so that was my thoughts too. Now, I ran that poll and I tweeted at Jat and Raz to see if I could get them to weigh in more on this. And at the end of the chain, I was like, you know, if the answer is just that we're stupid as 100 TV fans, I'm willing to accept that. And Jat just liked that tweet. He didn't like anything else. He just liked that. So I'm like, I guess that's Jat's answer, is that we're just dumb.
There you go.
But good guy Raz came in, and Raz actually like recorded a video explaining more of his thoughts. So I wanted to run that video and then react to that as we wrap up this conversation. So I don't know. I don't know if you can hear it on stream, Jordan, or if you kind of remember what he's saying. Yeah. But all right, so let's run this here.
All right, let's hope that I can get more out in this video than I can in 200 and something characters. And as a obvious reminder, this is my take and no one else's. There may be similarities, but this is just my opinion when it comes to the MVP discussion, is that you have to be the best in your position to be in consideration of an MVP. So for instance, right now for Ssumday has had an incredible split, especially in comparison to his last year's performance. Is he right now the best top laner in this league? No, it's Ssumday. I mean, it's Summit. And you can make the case second and third being contested by Impact, Whippo, and of course Ssumday, as you had mentioned. And if Ssumday has a monumental final week, then I would put him as a solid second, right? You can make that case because it's also a pretty strong, hard strength of schedule for 100 Thieves next week. But because of the full body of work from week 1 to week 8 for Summit, even with the mistakes that he has made, hey, no one's perfect, I would still have him as the best. And the person that I would say, if anybody can contest for MVP this split, would be someone who's excelling in another position. So that's why we mentioned Blabber. Santorin comes to that conversation. Closer who comes to that conversation, because if it wasn't for him, they would not be third. He has been the most consistent force throughout all of this split. When bot lane hasn't been performing, when Abbedagge hasn't been performing, and then when Ssumday has had his performance on Sion versus, I think that was Golden Guardians, and the Renekton game, I think, versus IMT. Closer is still the one who's been killing it. And then, if you were having a conversation about which AD carries, then you can also talk about, Berserker or Hansama. But at the end of the day, it would be a travesty for somebody who is not first All-Pro or, should be in that first All-Pro to then win the MVP. So I mentioned him in passing simply because it is a possibility for him to get votes if he has like a straight fire weekend. But this is where it stands.
So a couple of quick things to add on to this. He talks about mentioning him in passing. It was kind of weird to me because the whole thing that they were doing was like theory crafting a way for Summit to lose the MVP. Mm-hmm. And the scenario they brought up was 100T plays C9 this weekend. Say Summit has a bad game and Closer has a great game. Then say we meet again for tiebreaker to determine playoff positioning, and the same exact thing happens. Maybe then Summit has lost out on MVP and Closer has earned it. That was the scenario they put forward. And I'm thinking in my head, if Summit's losing bad, it's because of Ssumday. So Ssumday outplays him twice in a row, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe we like hyper camp him or something, so maybe that's a possibility. But even if that's not the case, just substitute Ssumday into that position. Ssumday pops off and goes nuts. Yeah. Then they meet again, and Ssumday again pops off and goes nuts. To me, it's like I don't buy that part of the argument. It does seem like I think his main point, like he said a lot, and also like I love Raz, and I'm really grateful he did this because it provides a lot of like, okay, now I know where he's coming from. A lot of people view MVP as like best player on a best team kind of award. And I don't think there's a problem with that. I think that's kind of philosophical, and that's an approach to take it. And he's going even further by saying that you have to be the best at your role to get MVP. And I am not sure I agree with that. I would say 90% of the time, maybe more, that would happen to be true for me, right? But there's definitely a scenario in my mind where it's like, you do have someone who's maybe not the absolute best in their role, but they still are like the most important piece. And like, think about like if you have a loaded stacked team where everybody's dominant, it's like, say you have a team where they have the best player in every position. Okay. Yeah. It's like, okay, so which one of those is the best? Which one of those is the MVP? It's hard to say because everybody is, creating advantages, whatever. Right. But if you have a team like ours where this split, we have basically been, let's win with Ssumday, that's very important. And we're still a high performing team. We're one game behind Team Liquid, right? Yeah. And I think it's possible that we end up tied for first this weekend. I don't think it'll happen, but you know what I mean? It's like at least in the realm of possibility. So it's like, I get what he's saying about that, and I don't think it's an invalid way to look at it. That like the best, you have to be a best player at your position to win. But it is interesting to me that maybe that was kind of like an unspoken understanding between them. Like they didn't need to say it on the pod because they both get it and think about it that way. I certainly don't. So do you have any other reaction to that?
A weird example comes to mind for me, which is Alfari. Before he came to LCS, so if I'm not mistaken, I'm not a big LEC watcher. I believe he was the best player on the worst team. And
Wait, say that again.
you know,
I'm sorry.
Alfari, best player on the worst team in LEC before he came to LCS.
Oh yeah,
I know
yeah.
we're outside of our realm here, but just as a thought experiment, I think you could argue, well, he could be in contention for best top laner in the LEC at that time, right? Like, I don't know. There might be another obvious answer, but just in theory, you're never going to give him the MVP on the worst team, right? If his team finishes 10th of 10 and he is the best top laner, are you going to give him MVP?
Right.
Probably not, right? So it's like a lot of the time, I think what you find is the best player at the position is on the best team. And so you go with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think those two are necessarily the same. I think it just happens that a lot of the time that ends up being the case because, you know, you get that standout performance, which gives your team really good outcomes.
Sorry, I have a habit of interrupting you. I apologize for that. I just am calling this out from chat. So Flesh Bear is claiming that Ssumday has 23 less deaths than Summit and only 4 less kills right now. Which is very interesting. I'm wondering, so you said that's on Oracle's Elixir. Is that for the whole, like, is that lock-in combined with, oh no, February 4th. So that's the split. That's very interesting and surprising. And I wish I would have said that to rest.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I'll say.
I know KDA is not the end all be all.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to this conversation, like, there are some people who troll this. I think the MVP is just decided by like votes from a set of people, right? Journalists, analysts, coaches, etc. Like GMs, you know, they have a list of people who get votes. And we know based on who gets votes for MVP that some of them do just troll this. And that's too bad.
Yeah.
But I think so. I think the disagreements oftentimes come from just how do you define MVP? Is it truly the person who is the most valuable to their team, or is it like the best player, right? And I think, you know, like, you could make an argument for Ssumday much more easily if you're not just doing it by, well, who's the best player on the best team, and instead you do it by who is actually the most valuable player to their team or across the league.
Yeah.
You've just seen something.
Yeah, because I was pulling up Oracle's Elixir while we were talking because of what Flesh Bear was saying. I want you to take a guess, if you can. What do you think Ssumday's KDA is on the split?
Oh, geez. Is it like 10?
No, that would truly be outrageous.
Okay, I'll guess again. Realistically, I guess 5.4.
Not too far off. It's 5.9. What do you think Summit's is?
3.8.
2.8. Summit is 5th in KDA. So Ssumday's at the top with 5.9. Bwipo in second place with a close 3.1. So Ssumday is almost 3 up above the next highest person. That is pretty insane. And yeah, I know Summit, I'm looking at Summit's laning stats, and his laning stats are like the best. Like, obviously the best. In fact, laning wise, Ssumday's actually a slightly negative player. Which is interesting. But I'm telling you, like, he is the crux of our team right now. And so I just can't see putting him above closer as a candidate. That's the only thing I would say from this.
And
but the KDA is really surprising and wild. I did not know Summit was dying that much.
If we finish this split either tied for first or in first, I think you kind of have to go with Ssumday. I really do. And in no small part because to get to that point, we would have to go through C9, right? And C9 has the MVP. Like, that, for me, that feels, I think that's maybe the biggest point of where I see it differently. I think if we end up at the top of the table, which again, I don't think is likely, but if we were to do that, I don't think it would be closer unless he has some kind of crazy, you know, he pops off along the way.
Yeah.
But knowing who we have to get through, like, Ssumday's been the guy, and he would have to continue to be the guy, most likely, to get us there.
It's interesting, too, just a side note, Summit has an 8% advantage in damage percentage which is your damage share of the team. So
Yeah.
Ssumday's at 22.7 and Summit's at 30.7. That's pretty interesting too. But yeah, I would not have guessed that that's such a big screaming difference. And I also wouldn't have guessed that Ssumday's a slightly negative lane player. But at the same time, we've seen him get tough matchups where he is, even against Immortals, he missed the first 2 waves, right? He was being zoned off. So I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, and not to be too long-winded about this, but I just don't think he's getting enough credit. And I'm not going to say out here and be like, you are trolling if you don't pick Ssumday as your MVP. No. But I do still believe that it's not necessary for you to be the absolute best in your position to win MVP. Look at Spica. Last split, winning it. We know he wasn't the best in his position. I just don't think that's necessary, personally.
Wait, did he get first team?
Spica?
And Closer got second team?
Oh, I'm sure he would have, right? If you get MVP.
I mean, that would be the insta check, right?
Hold on. I'll look this up. You talk for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that for me, that feels,
he
that's a
got,
big part of it.
he was first team.
Yeah, first team. Yeah.
Spica was first team.
Yep.
Yeah. And remember, Jizuke got first team mid lane. That was so weird. People were really convinced that Jizuke was super good. And I just always thought he was just back and forth player, like sometimes excellent, sometimes really bad, Anyway, moving on. Let's do some listener takes and then predictions. And we don't have quite as many this split or this week, probably because we did better. You know what I mean? When we suck, there's a lot of comments. Let's see. JC101, of course, said Abba is back, baby. Also, Huhi Tom Kench looked good. So we talked about that. Abba's back. I do see a lot less criticism going in Abbedagge's direction. I think based off of this weekend, that's largely deserved. His victory game was insane. I think the TF game, the thing with him on TF is it doesn't always like look good in terms of fighting, but goodness, he moves around the map and he's a little slippery, and he Spellbooks might steal Elder away and basically save the game. So
he had a crazy sidestep on a Nautilus hook. You remember that?
I don't remember that, actually. I'm gonna go.
He went chasing a Nautilus in a bush, out of vision, I'm pretty sure, and sidestepped the hook that came out of the bush.
So he like felt it. Nice.
Yeah, he force sensed it. Then,
Oh My Josh 5, which not to be confused with Oh My Josh 8, who was in Twitch chat earlier. Thank goodness we got the real Oh My Josh 5 back.
Agreed.
Said it is really strange that Ssumday doesn't get that much recognition for how well he's doing this split. Other than the Scion game, which we still won, he has consistently performed well even in our losses. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get voted at all in the All-Pro team. If he doesn't get like third team All-Pro, we are really messing around. Like I think it's going to be Summit Bwipo someday. And if it's not, if he doesn't get any one of those, like, that'll be trolling for sure.
Impact over Ssumday for third team, you got to be crazy.
That's wild. More Ssumday. Licorice. More Ssumday from Nate, aka Paper ID, aka Nate's Steakhouse. My take is that it seems Ssumday, seeing that his position is being fought for, has given him a second wind for carrying the team and performing well. His average gold as of now is 14,400, when in spring last year was 13,100 and dipping to 12,400 in summer. So saying like total gold earned per game is more. I don't think that's the most reliable stat, because I mean you take it across the whole split, so it does kind of average out, but game times are just so different. I wouldn't rely on that really to prove a point. But there's plenty others to make players. That. Yeah. And I think like there's plenty of other things to prove the point with. His kills have been the second highest at 3.1 average. His highest average was 4, and that was in spring 2020. With Tenacity being a very hype player and being talked about from the fans of what's going on, maybe he could have pushed him to show that, hey, I still got it in me. Don't worry. And I do wonder what's possible there. In that it's like Ssumday doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would be riled by, competition for his spot. It just doesn't seem like very Ssumday-ish to me. But at the same time, what else explains like how he's found his form so surely? So maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just grinding and focused. one more on Ssumday, who's by Nick Moore, who said, "Do you play Tenacity for any of the games this final weekend?"
No.
Never. Nope.
That's a 0 of 3 for me.
Yeah. We'll see about summer.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean,
honestly, why? Like,
I think like what they've told us, right, is that like he's in such good form they don't want to mess with that, and you want this guy continuing to cook as he goes into playoffs. So I wouldn't do it either. Mont says, no matter what happens this entire year, so not just split, but this entire year, I want this team to stay together, which I believe means re-signing Ssumday. I think Ssumday should remain until Sniper is ready for LCS.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Hey.
We'll see how summer goes. I definitely want this exact team for summer.
If he's playing like this, man, yeah, this is he has earned his spot.
Yeah. I believe G-Man's talking about his military service. I know that this has been hotly debated back and forth. I believe that because he's got his green card, he can potentially be exempted from it. I don't think it's guaranteed to be exempted from it, but I believe he can potentially be exempted. So I don't think it's 100% necessary or a given that he's going to do his military service. Someone can probably dig up a more firm answer, though. I might be wrong. Final take of the night from Real Connection, bringing back a previous take, said, so my theory has been proven right. The COD team has had a downward spiral, and the LCS team has regained the championship war. If you remember, Real Connection said only one 100T team can be cooking at a time. We got reverse swept at COD. Maybe there's something to it.
Ouch.
Maybe there's something to it.
Hey, real quick, just look this up on ilw.com, immigration website, something.
Industrial
Exemption.
light and wagic.
Wagic.
George
Exemption
Lucas.
from military duty is granted under the following conditions. 1, the subject person and his immediate family obtain green card or permanent resident status of another country, i.e. United States.
Okay, so potentially. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to predictions. Jordan, it's super weak. Doman's here. That my George Lucas thing was definitely a Doman lurk check, and it turns out it worked. Moving on to predictions. It is super weak, which means 3 games this weekend. Friday we take on the suddenly mighty TSM. They 2-0'd this past week with a convincing win over C9, and I didn't see the Immortals game, so I can't speak on it. They're tied for 9th. They're not in sole 10th place anymore. Tied for 9th at 4-11. Jordan, do we beat Team Solo Mid?
You ban Rumble, easy dub. I think that's in the bag. They won. I didn't watch the Immortals game either. I saw a little bit more of the Cloud9 game. I saw Huni on Rumble doing some things. I'm not worried about Huni.
I was waiting for it. We know where Jordan stands.
If he's their win condition, we have the answer to Huni in the top lane.
Oh my gosh! I hope this isn't the week where your fate is reversed.
I just don't get it, Cole. How is he so good? That's what he's saying. If you did it to us,
I agree. We're gonna beat DSM. I think we're starting to find our form. I don't think we're gonna be flawless. I don't think we're not gonna make mistakes, but I think we are legitimately 3rd place.
Yeah.
Saturday we take on 1st place C9. So they actually, as we mentioned, they lost TSM. They won against 100T Junior in CLG. They're 12-3. Do we make that 12-4, or at that point 13-4?
I don't think so. I don't think I think we're playing better for sure. I don't think we're playing best, and I think we need to be tip-top form to beat C9. I think it certainly feels more possible, but I'm not gonna bet on it. I'm gonna say we lose to C9.
So I know, because I just went into this staunch defense and justification of Ssumday versus Summit, that we're going to lose there, because Summit is going to pop off because that's how the universe works. It's going to punish my take. So we're definitely going to lose. And furthermore, we'll get punished by Fudge popping off in mid against Abbedagge. I just know that's a loss. And I'm going to be fine with it. I'm cool with it. So that's a loss. And then Ssumday versus Dignitas tied for 5th place. Playoffs in reach, 7-8. But last week they were 0-2 against EG and Golden Guardians. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a dub. I think we gotta. This is the moment. This is the game pre-playoffs. We gotta end on a high note. I think we can. Again, I think we're at the point where we have, just like Immortals. Even if we get popped, I think we can still play these games. I think that's a dub for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in the dub category as well. We lost to Dignitas the last time we played him. I think we're mad. I don't think we're going to let that happen again. So I think that is a win. I think Dignitas is slipping right now anyway, so I feel pretty confident. In the 2-1 weekend, I think we're going to end up in that 3rd place spot for sure. And we'll be just fine for playoffs,
Very happy with that.
Just
Very
fine. As long as we're top 4,
it feels earned. It feels earned. Like, I don't feel like we're limping our way into this position. I think if we go 2-1, end up in 3rd, I think that's a pretty representative illustration of what we can do.
Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here first. 2-1 this weekend. We're going to be rolling in the playoffs. Yeah, we have a lot. Maybe you've been picking less with your heart this split, huh?
It's possible. Or maybe you've been picking more.
I have picked with my heart before, or maybe we've just been a little worse this split.
Never again.
I don't know. We've won 5 in a row now, right?
Yeah.
So
it feels good.
We lost 3 in a row. So if you get rid of that 3-game losing streak, just strike it from the record, which is kind of a ridiculous thing, but we've won 8 out of 9 otherwise. Right?
Yeah, barring our colossal
8 of our last
slide.
But it's like, look, everybody has a bad stretch. And do you know what? Yeah. 2 of those games, C9 and Team Liquid. It's not that bad. It's really not that bad. Now, we got kind of lucky a couple times, but everybody gets kind of lucky.
That's right.
Anything else for this week?
We've said it all.
Special shout out to the Flight Check crew. I did want to bring this up. Flight Check, the FlyQuest version of who we are. They hit their 1-year anniversary, podversary, whatever you want to call it. That's no small thing. So being on this side of it, I can tell you it's extremely difficult to try and do something like this in the league space where no one cares about you at all. And those dudes are good guys, and they've hung in it, and they've done cool content. They've done different stuff. They're consistent. They don't slack. They're just really solid, and I'm happy to have them in the space. And I really wish that we had, more people doing similar things like this for all of the teams. So we're very welcome to have them, and I wish them a nice, happy birthday and a happy secure your playoffs this weekend.
Yes. Lock it up. Get it in there. We want you to have more shows to do. That's the goal.
And then the other thing is shout out to Militime for sponsoring Beanie Weenie Night on Rec League this past week, which was one of the weirdest Rec Leagues we've ever done. Probably the weirdest we've ever done.
Yeah.
And thanks everyone for playing in it. Yeah, it was really fun. So, all right. We'll do Rec League again this week. That's the plan. Back to League, and then we'll have Super Week. Maybe I'll even try and mess around and watch games live this weekend. What? If not, maybe I'll do another VOD squad. Who knows?
Who knows? See. We'll find out.
Don't want to get too crazy here. But that is all for tonight. So we will say thank you guys for listening. And as always, we love you and we miss you already.
Take care.